Hi guys, I'm your host Mark Spurl from Film Bros, and today we'll be talking about why this might sometimes actually be better than this. Yeah.
First, let's take a look at shutter speed. By definition, shutter speed is the amount of light you let into your camera in a certain period of time. A higher shutter speed will let less light into your camera, while a lower shutter speed will let more light into your camera. However, as you can see, lowering the shutter speed will increase the blur in moving objects, while having a higher shutter speed will lessen the blur in moving objects. While shooting in 24p, the best frame rate for film, 1/48th of a second is the optimal shutter speed. However, when shooting in 30p, 1/60th of a second is the best. You always want to have double the amount of shutter speed over the frame rate. Moving on, we define aperture. Aperture is the amount of light let in by the iris. The iris in your lens works much the same as in your eye. It regulates the amount of light that passes into your retina, or in this case, your sensor. If your aperture is very large, you get what's called a shallow depth of field. At f2.8, your aperture is almost wide open. This lets a lot of light through and creates a blown out background called bokeh. This is one of the main advantages of a DSLR over a camcorder. DSLRs can often achieve a much more shallow depth of field. At a small aperture, such as f22, your iris is letting in very little light. However, you have a very deep depth of field, and everything appears in focus. Finally, we move indoors to talk about ISO. This is where the digital SLR also takes the lead over the camcorder. DSLRs are often more sensitive to light, which is what ISO is all about. At a low ISO, your sensitivity to light is much lower, and therefore your image is much darker. If we ramp the ISO up to 200 and 400, you quickly see the difference in light. However, take note of the noise generated. This is an unfortunate side effect of using a higher ISO. For the Canon T2i or 550D that I'm using, I will never go higher than 800 ISO, as it just produces way too much noise to be usable.
So that's it for the day. Thanks for joining in. I'm your host Mark Spurl for Film Bros, and I'll see you guys next time.